y'all, my name is Ryan Bruce, my friends call me Fluff, and today on Riffs, Beards, and Gear, we check out the brand new 1959 Modified Series amplifier from Marshall. If you saw any of the footage back from January NAMM 2025, you will have seen one of the two main stars of the Marshall booth with yours truly showing them to everyone, the new Modified Series, which includes a 2203 GACM 800 and the amplifier we'll be checking out today, the 1959 hand-wired amplifier from the Modified Series from Marshall. And before we go any further, this is not a sponsored video per se, but you should know I was one of the people who had sonic input on the tonal characteristics of this amplifier in the development stage. I work closely with Marshall. They are all friends of mine. Yeah, this is not a sponsored video per se. However, I had some stuff to do with this amplifier. I also rolled it out at NAMM and gave multiple presentations over the entire show. I know this amplifier. I work with Marshall. They sent me this amplifier to make this video, obviously. They have no input on this video. All thoughts and opinions are still mine. So let's zoom out a second. What is the Modified Series from Marshall, and what does it mean in the context of all the Marshall amplifiers? Well, one, it is kind of a loose tribute to all of the modified amplifiers that have made legendary tones over the past 40, 50 years, yes, but it is also a tribute to Marshall's own legacy of modifying factory amps to fine-tune to a specific player's needs. Most notably, what comes to my mind is the Randy Rhoads amplifiers that he had factory modded and took out the master volume. So when it comes to the 1959 modified amplifier, you can have your cake and eat it too. If you want the amplifier to behave and act and sound as an unmodified amplifier, you can do that. If you want to introduce some of the modifications, you simply flick a switch. I think that's a brilliant distinction between a lot of other modified amplifiers from other makers, is this can still be just your stock boy if you want it to be, but also if you find yourself in a situation where you need a little bit more, you can then start introducing some of the mods, which we will talk about right now. So the first modification I want to talk about is the master volume. Now the master volume on the 1959 is a pre-tone stack master volume, meaning if you want to operate the amplifier as a non-master volume, you just simply turn the volume all the way up, and both the treble channels and the normal channels will operate as normal. But if you want to reverse that, you will turn down the master volume and then gain up the individual channel volumes, and that's basically going to act like your preamp gain, kind of. Although it's, you know, power tubes and saturation, it's you know, yeah. You can do both. The second modification we're going to talk about is the clipping circuit. Now there are two different switches on the front panel relating to clipping. You have a master clip on off, and then you have two different flavors of clipping depending on what you're looking for. Now modification number 3 is a switchable bright cap. So a bright cap mod is a very popular mod for any of the Plexi style circuits. Yeah, this one's just on a switch. I personally prefer this on at all times. Give me that bright cap. So let's go ahead and hear the 1959 modified in the context of a full mix. I will be plugging in my 1980 Gibson Les Paul Standard with Seymour Duncan Saturday Night Special pickups straight in. And we're gonna do a little Bad Religion cover, because you know what? For me, the punk rock starts at the 1959. Let's do it. Now that we got the tune out of the way, let's go ahead and hear the 1959 modified, just in a casual knob twisty setting. I'm gonna do two different playthroughs. I will introduce an overdrive pedal later. I will also switch to my PRS Tremonti guitar for the entirety of the tone tour, if you will. However, I will note on camera what you were hearing and what modes are on, etc., etc. Yeah, let's just twist some knobs and hang out a little bit. So what do I think? Honestly, this is maybe my favorite Marshall amplifier of the entire line. I know those are bold words. However, this amplifier encompasses everything I want and need and desire in a Marshall amplifier. And I have a lot of Marshall amps at this point. However, this one, it lives in two different worlds, right? It can be the higher gain boy, and then you add a overdrive pedal and it can get even more crushing. Or if you just want classic punk rock tones, you get rid of the pedal and just turn the volume up. And I love that. I just feel like it's versatile for layering or just using it cranked up by itself. Any guitar, it is fantastic. I have absolutely loved this amplifier since I initially plugged into it pre-NAMM. And yeah, I think you guys will like it too. If you'd like to know more information on all things Marshall modified amplifiers, I will link down below in the description. And with that, you've been wonderful. I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.